Hi everyone, it's me Skelton with another special vlog chat for you. On this special vlog, I'm going to show y'all how to make an old family recipe that's been in my family for generations. It's called ring tum ditty. Now this is classic comfort food that's very simple, a very simple, easy recipe to make, perfect for weddings or funerals or other fun special occasions like that. So let me show you the ingredients you'll need. You can get at your local grocery store. It's not too expensive and it makes a wonderful meal, a full meal or just a snack. It's a great way to, great for entertaining, great for simple get-togethers, dinner parties, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Okay, I have laid out all the ingredients that y'all will need for ring tum ditty. First of all, you'll need one large box of premium saltine crackers. You also need some Worcestershire sauce. I get Lee & Perrins, that's my favorite kind. You will also need a large can of Campbell's tomato soup. Make sure it's plain. And you'll need a medium-sized can of tomato paste. Then you will need 6 bars of Cracker Barrel extra sharp cheese. Now, ideally you should use black rind cheese, but extra sharp is the next best thing, and you can't use anything less than that. And it should be about that size. Following that, you also need 2 large onions, and they can be yellow or white, doesn't matter. And then finally, you'll need a little bit of beer for coloring purposes only. Okay everyone, so as you can see I got my big pot there on the stove, and the first step we want to do, first thing you must do is chop up the onions. So I began dicing the onions. Make sure that they're pretty small, and you just want to, oops, well, you get the idea. Just cut them so that the onions are small and they're nice and cut up like that. You want to do both onions. And then after all this is done, we're going to put this in the pot over here and add the other ingredients. Okay, now we're going to finely chop our onions, and as you can see I'm using a butcher knife, but I do not recommend that. For safety purposes I do recommend a smaller cutting knife, but I was in a pinch, so I'd use my butcher knife for this. As you notice, I'm trying to cut the onions into very thin slices. You want to make sure that there's no onion peels. Also, remove the skin of the onion because that will also affect the taste of the product. Remember, when you're cutting your onions, it's probably better to use more than less. The onions are very important to the overall taste of the ring tum. Now that we have finished cutting our onions and putting them into the pot, the next step we must do is cut the cheese. Now when you're cutting the cheese, cut them into about 1 inch to 1.5 inches thick. Each slice, it doesn't have to be perfect, but make sure that you're cutting them about evenly. The whole point of cutting the cheese is so that it will melt evenly around the circumference of the onions when you're melting it in the pot. Now theoretically, all the cheese is going to melt, so you'd think it wouldn't matter, but it really does help if you cut the cheese up. It gives it more room to melt around everything else. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but this is a very important step in making the ring tum ditty. Okay, now we have the cheese and the onions, and then we put the stove on high medium high. That's it. So we'll set that on medium high. Is that the one? Yeah, that's it. Once you have set your stove on medium high to cook the cheese and the onions, the next step you do is to add a large can of tomato soup and your can of tomato paste. Once you do that, you should thoroughly stir the ingredients together and make sure that everything is becoming liquefied. Make sure that your stove is clean so that smoke is not coming out of the burner, as you can see in the video. Oh no. Okay.
Make sure we get everything away from it.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't catch on fire. Okay, there we go with the tomato paste, and that comes in next. And that's gonna, yeah, it's just the smoke. I think that's just normal leftovers. Let me put on the thing before there we go. Following adding the tomato soup and tomato paste, the next step in our recipe is to add 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. And then continue to stir in slowly, letting everything melt evenly into the pot. And last but not least, we add 1 teaspoon of beer into the ringtum ditty for coloring purposes only. And then we continue to stir the pot, letting the cheese and the beer and the Worcestershire sauce and the onions all melt together in a very flavorful consistency. Okay folks, so now we've got the ringtum ditty on the stove, and we're going to let it simmer on the stove for about a good 10 to 15 minutes. As you can see, it's doing pretty well, and that's about what it should look like. It's coming along pretty good. So you want it to make sure that all the cheese is melted, and that's how you know it will be done. And then when we finish with that, we'll be able to get our crackers ready and put it on a plate and serve it to our friends and loved ones who love ringtum ditty, and talk about the good old days of Richmond, and back when folks had manners, and you know, the nice times we used to have. So anyway, I'll be with you in just a minute. We're gonna let it simmer, so whistle while you wait. And there you have it, folks. A nice plate of ringtum ditty, good old southern recipe, and very easy to make, and very economical too if you're on a budget. Great for parties, great for funerals, great for any special occasion. So I'm Mead Skelton, and from my kitchen to yours. No, that's not my tagline. I think that's Paula Dean, isn't it? Anyway, so hope you all enjoy it, and go to my website at meadskeltonsplace.com. Bye!